Prime Minister Abhisit Vejjajiva, welcome to Hard Talk.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thailand's recent history has been disfigured by military coups, by political violence. Would you accept that this coming election is a massive test of Thailand's commitment to democracy?
It is a test for Thai democracy, and I'm confident that the country will prove to the rest of the world that our democracy is maturing, that it is resilient. You talk about the history of Thailand having troubled political times. At least one thing we've also proven is that the Thai economy has been remarkably resilient. We've turned things around from the impact of the global financial crisis very quickly. Now we've got very low unemployment, and all indicators showing the strength and the stability of the economy.
Sure, but the markets are also desperate to see long-term stability here, and I would say that right now they are not convinced that there is that political stability.
There's uncertainty every time there is an election, because there's competition going on. So there's an atmosphere of uncertainty in the markets at the moment. But after the elections, things will become clearer.
Yes, well, that's an interesting comment. Things will become clearer. The truth is that the opinion polls do seem to have quite a clear message in this run-up to the election. That is, you and your Democrat Party are behind. Why do you think that is?
We are slightly behind, and I think we suffer, like all governments suffer, from times where people face high prices. They look to the government to help them on that. It's always a difficult issue to grapple with. But we're taking our message out. We're saying that there is a lot we are already doing to help them in terms of subsidizing cooking gas, making sure that diesel price doesn't get out of control. And at the same time, we've got concrete policies to increase people's income, the minimum wage.
Well, let me stop you there, because you've just mentioned a series of policies which frankly strike me as very much reminiscent of the former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, appealing to the poor, but the difference is that you don't actually appear to succeed when you appeal to the poor.
That's not true. Everybody needs to work for the people, and the least fortunate, the poor, are the ones that need help first. So when we addressed the economic crisis a couple of years ago, it was clear that our program was designed to help the most vulnerable.
Here's what one very senior Thai politician said to me about you. He said, the problem is Mr. Abhisit never looks comfortable when he's in a rice paddy.
Well, I don't know about that.
You know what he's saying? He's saying that you just find it difficult to connect with the poor, rural Thai.
I find that odd. This is the 8th election campaign that I've been involved in. I go meet a lot of people, rural people mostly, in fact, throughout the campaigns. You should have followed me out to the rural areas. I thought you were going to come with me, and you will see how we connect. The fact of the matter is
it's not easy though, is it, when you're Eton educated, been to Oxbridge, have that sort of elite background, which Thais and our political opponents are very well aware of.
But I have spent 20 years with the people. As soon as I graduated, I spent a year working in a university. When I was old enough, the first thing I decided was to run for a seat in Parliament. Ever since then, all my work has been connecting with people, which is why now people understand that the programs that we have implemented are not the ones that they want to lose.
But maybe they want a sense of radicalism that you're not able to offer, because there is, it seems, a feeling in this country that the gap between rich and poor, the haves and the have-nots, maybe the urban elite and the rural poor, is simply too wide. Let me just quote you.
It is too wide, and that's why you should look at the numbers. For the first time, when we have an economic crisis, we have engineered a recovery that is pro-poor.
It seems to me that what's at stake in this election, in essence, is a Thai judgment on 5 tumultuous years, going back to the 06 coup, then the troubled history of Shinawatra and the red shirts and everything that's come over those 5 years. Now, I just want to ask you, do you regret any of the things you have done as leader of your party and Prime Minister with regard to the red shirts and your decision to confront them, to take them on?
Well, if you look at the 2 years that I've been through, I never started these confrontations. And I offered solutions, I negotiated, I made solid proposals about early elections at least 3 times. Every single time it was turned down because there was nothing for Thaksin. particularly about the amnesty, the red shirts, or elements of the red shirts, had from the start elements of violence.
You've accused some of them of terrorism.
That's after they've been engaged with armed groups of people, firing at and launching grenades at people, and also at officials. But my point is this: I made solid offers about early elections, about how we might move the country forward, how we might address the issue of inequality. Every time it was rejected because there was nothing for Thaksin. And the bottom line is, that's what they want on the top of their agenda.
And my point about the violence
and
is
the red shirt people have been manipulated. And we are trying to engage them into a dialogue, and we will continue to do so.
And my point about the violence is this: not that your words or the words of any official sparked it, but you talk about the violence of the red shirts. Let us not forget there was also violence throughout 2008, sparked by the yellow shirts. They took over 2 of Thailand's airports. They besieged and attacked the Prime Minister's office. There was a lot of violence in 2008 before you came to power. And what many critics of your government say is, look at what Prime Minister Abhisit has done to the red shirts, locked many of them up. And look at what he's done to those yellow shirts. He hasn't actually overseen the conviction and the locking up of any of them.
Look, this is all according to the due process of law. And, you know, I haven't interfered with any of these cases. All I have said is they should speed things up. I've instructed the police and all the agencies concerned that they should move all these cases forward as best they can.
Why do you believe they have moved so much quicker?
Well, it's
in the
not
cases
true.
of
It's not
the red
true
shirt
because the
leadership
cases
than the yellow shirts?
because the cases against the red shirts back in 2007 are probably more slow or as slow as the yellow shirts in 2008. The reasons why recent cases in recent events have moved faster because most of the arrests were made on the spot. Whereas we came in, you know, the events of 2007, 2008 are over. The investigations need to probe into the witnesses and so on.
But could it be that there are some people inside the Democrat Party who joined the yellow shirts? Could that be a factor?
No, I don't think so. Because
sure?
because I've instructed the police that they should move ahead. And you know, my foreign minister subsequently has been charged. There's no discrimination at all.
Let me ask you about a basic truth in Thai politics. Thaksin Shinawatra was convicted of corruption. He went into self-imposed exile in Dubai. But is not the truth that Thaksin still is a spectre who hangs over this country and in particular hangs over your political future?
Well, he has been Prime Minister for 5-6 years, a very dominating figure in politics, and given that during his times he almost silenced the opposition through various means, he continues to dominate. Of course, there's been some good things that he's done for the people. Those are programs that I had no hesitation in continuing if they benefit the people. But that doesn't take away from the fact that on his record there are corruption charges, convictions, accusations of human rights abuse, and certainly being a very divisive
accusations of terrorism from some close to you. Are you a man who believes that Thaksin is responsible for quote-unquote terrorism?
He is certainly responsible for inciting the red shirts to come, and there are good reasons to believe that the violence that took place was something that he clearly was, certainly at the very least, very well aware of and did not actually stop.
So where does that leave Thailand today? Because, of course, I've referred several times to the polls. The polls say that the party Phua Thai, led by his sister, Yingluck Shinawatra, may well win this election.
Well, it's for the Thai people to decide. And come July the 3rd, they will make that decision, and we will all respect that decision, and then we will know what the direction of the country will be.
We will all respect that decision. Are you confident that that's actually true?
Yes. Yes, I do. And I urge the red shirts to do the same.
So if Yingluck wins, clearly wins the biggest number of seats, but doesn't quite make a majority, are you prepared to say here and now that you will accept she has a legitimate mandate to govern this country?
I will say that she gets the first shot at forming a government, because she has already said that she would not work with this and that party. So the numbers will determine who will form the government. If any party wins the most number of seats, it gets the first shot. But obviously, if it wins an outright majority, all these questions are academic.
Do you believe if Yingluck wins a majority, or close to a majority, and forms a government, do you believe that government will, in essence, be controlled by her brother Thaksin?
Well, they're already campaigning on that. That somehow that Kun Thaksin will be in control, and their priority will clearly be to whitewash him.
She says that she is considering a general amnesty, and that amnesty, one can only assume...
I think that comes after there's been a strong reaction against a proposal made earlier by her party member, assigned to do this work, that there will be a law passed to bring Thaksin back.
Yeah, but she's not saying that. She's not saying that at all. In fact, I spoke to her and she said...
The person she assigned on this issue...
Well, I'm talking about her. I've spoken to her myself. She says she's quite clear there will be no special treatment for Thaksin Shinawatra, but she is...
Does that mean that everybody on corruption charges would be whitewashed?
I'm asking you to tell me how you would react if there were a general amnesty and if Thaksin Shinawatra was able to come back to this country.
That the fact of the matter is the Pheu Thai party came out and spoke clearly